Now, I'd like to explain a word, because sometimes the word is misunderstood, and when you read the old writings of divine science, unity, spiritual science, religious science, you find the word error, E-R-R-O-R. What on earth does that mean? Well, if you've ever had a computer in the old days of computers, you sometimes would put a program in yourself. They had what they call PC Magazine. And they would give you a program. Oh my goodness, it was 5 or 6 pages long, you know, and you type in all of this, all of it, you know, it would take an hour to type it all in because you were going to download a program. And then when you hit enter, what did it say? Error on line. It drives you crazy. So you go back to line 20 and you look at it. Yeah, there's a little error there. Well, I've got it. Now you hit enter and it would pop up and say error in line 120. It just seemed like it was impossible to do. People actually did download these programs, but it seemed like an impossible thing to do. So what do we mean when we say error, when we're talking in metaphysics? This is just all the limited stuff. All the limited stuff. I think I've told you before that one of my daughters, Mary's sister, was in, I think it was the Christian Science Sunday School, and somebody asked her what error was. And she said, well, what is error and what is truth? She said, well, truth is God everywhere, you know, God every place. And what is error? Well, error is just the other stuff. You know, so to a little kid, it's just the other stuff. You know, all the other limited stuff. This is just the limited stuff. That's what we're talking about. All the limited thinking and all the stuff that limited thinking manifests. That's what we call error. It just doesn't line up with our understanding of God. So we say that's just erroneous. That isn't true. You'd say the same thing if you got on the computer and you were looking up your bank account. I do that all the time. You know, in I go, and I look there. Oh my! And so I say, you know, if it said, well, there's $1,000 has been removed from your account or added, either way, I would say that's just erroneous. That isn't true. So I'd call the bank and say this is erroneous. Hopefully. Of course, we will be glad to get rid of it, and we're just tired of it anyhow. So when things come up in like the newspapers and the ads and on television and so on, and we get all upset, then all we have to do is know, well, this is not according to God's plan, and so we just get rid of it in our own minds. So now we understand that there is definitely something going on in each one of us this morning as we sit in this audience. The love of God is working with each of us to teach us new things. If you think that you can sit back in life and not learn anything, you're sadly mistaken. That's not life. That's death. You will learn as long as you're here and after. Now, frankly, I think that most of us learn the hard way instead of the easy way. Like the man who kept getting kicked by the horse, he finally learned to get out of the way. Now, some of us are pretty slow at that. Pretty slow. I don't know if I've told you this story before, but there was a man years ago. They were cutting down a tree in our yard, as some of the limbs. And the boss was standing down there with me. There was a man up there cutting, and he was on the end of the limb, and he was cutting the limb off. Now, when the limb got cut off, of course, he would fall onto the ground. The man turned to me and he said, you know, if I didn't need him so badly, I'd just let him cut it off. You just wonder, you know, how people are thinking. Well, sometimes we have to learn the hard way. Like the man who kept getting kicked, and like the man who was cutting himself off from the tree. We have to see ourselves on top of the mountain instead of in the valley. You ever been in a valley experience? Sure you have been. Everybody has been. Where we just down there we are, down looking at the mountains, saying, boy, I wish I was on one of those. Have you ever sat down here, just been outside, looked and seen a plane go over and say, boy, I wish I was on that plane? Lots of people do that. I do that all the time. Oh, that would be nice to be on, just flying off someplace. Is that reality? Well, not really. But it does kind of point that we have higher consciousness from time to time. So now, we have some choices about learning. We can learn by spiritual understanding, We can learn by lessons in life, or we can not learn at all. Repeat. You have to repeat the experience. Repeat it again so that we get the idea. Now, what is spiritual understanding? That's the easy way. That is the first way we should think about. We learn by listening and accepting that which is good and pure for us. We just hear about it, we believe it, and that's all there is to it. And we accept it into our lives, and good things happen to us. And then we have the lessons. Well, those aren't my favorite things, but I seem to be in doing them all the time. We can learn from lessons that are given to us. Like the man who hits his thumb with the hammer, we can learn the first time, but the lesson was necessary. Lesson was necessary. I recall with great dismay taking an algebra class, and the teacher was just giving it to us, right on the board, 10x, x, and nobody had the foggiest. Everybody was looking like they were in a coma in the class. And then he said, and this is how it works. And he said, this is what we will do with it. And when he did that, everybody learned. So that's a lesson. That's a lesson. And sometimes we get lessons. You know how it is. Everybody out there on YouTube, and you've all had lessons, and we've had lessons in here. Well, the lessons. The lesson's necessary. The man who hit his thumb, if he hit it again, whose fault is it? Yes. But I have seen people hit their thumb more than once, maybe 3 or 4 times. What did he have to do? He had to get his thumb out of the way. He had to get a new plan. Now, we go through this period of time when we don't learn at all. That's the third step. Not learning anything at all. That's our kids, we seem to think. Our kids, we brought them up, and then maybe they learn. Our grandkids or great-grandkids, and us, we go through life not quite getting it. Don't get it. We're given an idea, we don't get it. What if Einstein had decided it was just a fluke? All of his ideas. What if Ford had decided this gear just won't work and that's all there is to it? We'd still be riding horses. Now, here's some good advice from the Bible, and I'll close with this, and everyone applauds. Awake, awake, says the Bible. Awake, awake. Put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments. Let's all get with it and consciously live on the top of the mountain of God to a higher place. Okay, we have the 3 steps of learning. We can learn by spiritual understanding. We can get it. Or we can learn by the lessons of hitting our thumb with a hammer. Or just refuse to learn at all. But we'll do something. And we will progress. You can't stay in any one of those states. You cannot stay. You will learn. You will learn in those 2 second steps. We can learn by lessons in life, or we cannot learn at all. You will learn sooner or later. So let's make it sooner. Okay. Any questions? The Gulf Coast, they learned. This is a hard lesson to learn. And I mentioned in a Sunday school class this morning that somebody quoted, they were showing on television the fish, and they were flowing through, they were swimming through the oil, and they quoted from the message, "You are responsible to keep the fish of the sea." And we are. Everything in our life we're responsible to keep. I think it was Yoko Honda that said we're responsible to keep it, and it doesn't mean we have to eat it. But I'll leave that with you for another time. God bless you.